Guys, good morning or good evening or good afternoon, of course, if you're on this side of the world. What's going on, guys? How was your weekend, team? We got a new podcast episode coming up very shortly. So as you're coming into this one live, guys, let us know, and I'm going to be dumping a straight value podcast here, which hopefully helps you along the way to your next little phase of your fat loss journey. So guys, we are coming into the end of September. We're going to be talking a little bit about Stomp-tember inside of this episode. So if you're coming in, guys, let us know. I want to see what's going on here. I wish there was a way to bloody tag into these lives. Which kind of sucks that I can't, because we need to bring some people into this live to make sure that we hit this target. So we got some kings and queens in here already. I love it. I love you guys coming in and doing your thing. So we're going to start in 2 minutes, guys, with another episode of The Potty. So who we got in here? Guys, if you are watching this one live, what I want you to do is I'm going to start asking for you to say morning and then hashtag live. And there's a reason that I'm asking you to do this, and it is this. What happens is inside of the groups, it gets more people to watch it if the comment section goes alight. So I want you to try to go boom and boom it up to the top. And one of the reasons that I want to do it is I want to talk about Stomp-tember and see whether we're any chance of hitting this target, guys. So hashtag live if you do watch it live. If you come in later on and do your thing, please hashtag replay. That's how we do it this morning. All right, quick hi to everyone that's coming in to watch this one. Hello, Marky Hunter. How are you, legend? I hope you had a beautiful weekend. Likewise, Benny Richardson, the king, the new king. Hello, Kenny and Hazel. How are you guys? Good to see you in here. Barnes is in here. What's going on, Barnes? Beautiful man. I was loving the framing in that photo, Barnes. Congratulations also, I want to say, to our Women Academy. Some of our ladies are starting to get together on that stomp, and I like seeing it. We've got some infiltration from M. Kelly trying to join the boys group, but it's cool starting to see. Maybe we should do a group stomp. I'm hoping to come back sometime around Christmas or just after, and I'd love to do a group stomp. Anyway, Tez, how are you, mate? Kimmy's in here as well. Sue and Matt, what's going on? Sue, I love that you've continued your journey on. So good. Good morning, Ash. I hope you had a beautiful weekend. Jen's here all the way from the UK. Bobby, what's going on, brother? Good to see you in here. Michelle Richmond, starting to get maximally evolved. I love it. Who else we got? Morning. Got someone here who hasn't authorized StreamYard, but hello to you. I hope you're good. We're going to be starting in a moment. Mikey, mate, we're coming to the end of summer here, brother. I hope you're well, legend. Good morning, Claire. I hope you are super good. Or evening, I should say, for you. Nikki Friend's in here as well. Look at all this crew. So good. And Tez, I love that you're tagging all your boys in here. Toddy, what is going on? Chris Lewis is in here. We got 20 people watching on live. I reckon we get started, guys. Let's get going. On the count of 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Welcome back to the Better Body Academy podcast. This is the podcast that you come to when you are sick of the dumb diets and unsustainable workout programs. I'm super pumped this morning. I don't know what it is. It's maybe a combination of it feeling really nice and sunny as we bring towards our kind of northern hemisphere summer, and the fact that we're going to go spend a month in Europe as of kind of this week, which is going to be fun, just to escape the cold like we try to do here. I don't know why we live in Canada, because we seem to, as my dad points out, seem to spend all of our time trying to get away from here. Anyway, guys, in this episode, I'm going to give you 5 simple strategies to help you lean up, particularly coming into summer, a lot of you, without tracking. Now, inside of the workshops that we have inside of Better Body Academy, I refer to an idea called the Sexy 6. These Sexy 6 ideas, they are inside the Freedom Eating Formula workshop. So if you haven't watched that and you want to be able to live with a level of freedom, you need to go and watch the Freedom Eating Formula workshop. So if you haven't done that, do that this week. Make that your commitment for this week. But actually, the 5 strategies that I'm going to give you here, I don't go into much detail about these in the Freedom Eating Workshop. So these will be a little bit perhaps new or slightly different takes. Now, I just want to mention something. Guys, as you know, we are mid-deep in Stomptember. Stomptember was a mission-wide attempt to get 100 of our guys and girls across 300,000 steps for the month. 300,000. That is 30 days of 10,000 steps. As you guys know, it's part of our trifecta system. So from my perspective, you should be doing it anyway. But what I did was I put a post up yesterday just basically asking you to comment either done if you've already done it for the month, or not yet if you will definitely do it, but you just haven't done it yet. So for example, I've got about 5,000 to go because I average about 12,000 steps a day, so I hadn't quite hit it yet. I've included myself in not yet, but I will definitely be getting there. Guys, I just did a quick count. It looks like 65 people who are in the done or not yet category. That means we need to find another 35 people who either missed the post, which obviously being a Sunday could be completely reasonable, or didn't know or aren't going to get there. That means another 35 people have to get involved in this, with myself and Mick donating $2,000 to the Sydney Children's Hospital if we hit this, and 2 people winning a nice little prize of $500 each. So guys, there's a bit at stake here. So we need to get more people over the mark. As an example, I'm looking at Terry Holden, brother. I'm looking at your crew, right, that you tagged in your group. I'm looking at your crew, and out of them, I know that Nathan Roller didn't comment, Matty Dawson, Cody Bennett, Troy Smith, Shaden Taylor, and I'm not sure about Lee. I think Lee did. So just as an example there's 6 guys that are probably following the model, probably tracking their steps as they should be, but maybe missed the post. So we need to work out a way to make sure that everyone gets across this line, or the money doesn't get donated and some kids miss out. Mick and I are trying to do something that aligns our goals with obviously something greater. So guys, let's see if we can get this cranking. Now today, I want to give you these simple hacks. Inside BBA, we work by a model which we recently named when we redid our workshops. We renamed the Eating Evolution. Let me explain. If you haven't watched the Fat Loss Kickstarter workshop or any of the nutrition workshops, I want to tell you what the Eating Evolution is very, very simply. It's 3 stages. The Eating Evolution inside of Better Body Academy goes like this. Number 1, 4 weeks on the Fat Loss Kickstarter meal plan. Every single person that comes into Better Body Academy should be doing this. I hate meal plans, but the only way you're going to be able to get started immediately is to start on a meal plan. Otherwise, you're going to say to the coaches, well, what should I eat? What should I eat? Is this good? Is this bad? So what we do is we give you a nice meal plan to show you just how much food you can eat without actually needing to be starving and still lose weight. So that's the first phase. First phase of the Eating Evolution is the 4 weeks on the meal plan. The next phase is what I believe you should be thinking about, as most of you are going to be in this stage right now. This is 6 months of tracking with MyFitnessPal or some related software. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't want to track, and I understand it totally. But if you don't have a grounding of what is in food, how are you ever going to get to the point where you don't have to track anymore? Because stage 3 of the Eating Evolution is what we call intuitive eating. This is because you know food well and you've got a bit of an idea of what your calories are, that you can effectively not track. This is where Terry is. This is where I am at. This is where anyone that's lost a good amount of weight after 6 months is going to be at. We don't need to track every single thing because we understand. Now, that's not to say that we're not still making overestimates or underestimates or mistakes. Absolutely we are. But we have enough of a calorie consciousness to be able to maintain the weight loss. The hardest thing about fat loss is not losing the fat. It's maintaining it. I'll let you guys know that I am right now preparing a workshop, hopefully to deliver next Saturday morning for Australian, Friday night for Europe and North America. any of our elite clients, it will be all about reverse dieting and increasing your calories. But if you don't understand the mechanics of actually what's going on in the first place, then it's going to be very hard for you to maintain fat loss. What's going to happen is you're going to yo-yo all your life until eventually you just say to yourself, you know what, fuck, this is just too much, I'm going to give up. And you give up. And then you slowly go the way of living overweight forever. I don't want that to happen, which is why we're trying to give you the training. So that's the stages of the eating evolution. 4 weeks meal plan, 6 months tracking, intuitive eating for the rest of your life. And by the way, when you start intuitive eating, like I do, you will always oscillate between tracking and intuitive eating. For example, let's pretend you're going away on a holiday, or you're getting married, or you've got a birthday coming up, or you want to look good for your brother's wedding in a suit. You will always have the tool to be able to dip back into tracking. So you'll always oscillate between the two. Most of our clients are after fat loss. So the first 2 stages are incredibly important for one reason, to get you to a point where you no longer need to track. So as opposed to this idea that I don't want to track, how about we switch the mindset to I have to track for 6 months so that I don't have to track. That's the whole point. We're trying to get you to track so that you don't have to track. Because for me, tracking it can be an interruption to, number one, our enjoyment of food. Number 2, our day, if we've got to track as we're going. So we want to get you to a point where you don't have to track. But in order to get to that point, you have to track at the start. All right, here's the frame. Whether or not you count calories, calories always count. Whether or not you count calories, calories always count. So the idea of this podcast is to hit you with 5 simple ways to lean up, particularly for summer or whatever it is that you're trying to achieve a fat loss goal for, without tracking. And I would suggest that if you're in your first 6 months, you track and you still apply these rules. If you're outside of your 6 months, you're not necessarily tracking, but you're applying these rules. Does this make sense? Number 1 is this: to eat protein first and with all meals. To eat protein first and with all meals. Why do we do that? Well, we know that protein, aside from being the building blocks of muscle, which is really freaking important when you're in a calorie deficit. If you're burning more fuel than you're bringing in, your body's going to say, well, where do you want me to get this fuel from? And if you're leaving open the option of breaking down muscle tissue, that's not a good idea. One of the ways that you can avoid that is to make sure that your protein stays high. But that's not why we're including it here. Protein is the most satiating of the macronutrients. In other words, it's the thing that fills you up the most. It's the hardest to break down. Your stomach, when it goes through, has the most difficulty breaking it down, absorbing it. And so what this does, obviously, is slows down digestion. And any time that we slow down digestion, guess what happens? Guess what happens? We feel fuller for longer. Now, all I want you to do is think about 2 scenarios. You go to a Chinese meal where it's predominantly, say, rice-based, and you go to Hog's Breath Cafe. And although actually Hog's Breath could be higher in calories, from a perspective of total fullness, you're likely to stay fuller for longer because you're getting your protein in through, for example, the steak. It depends what you've had it with, but this is the point. It's the load of the entire meal that matters. Getting your protein in, eating your protein first on your plate, what impact would that have? It would have the impact that the first thing that you put in your gut is the chicken or the steak or whatever, and what that does is make sure, bang, that you're getting the satiation happening immediately. Now, I had a really interesting situation over the weekend. Last Friday, my daughter and I sat down and we made homemade pizzas for the first time in a couple of months. She'd been making them at daycare with like plasterine or whatever it's called. Instead, we made it for real. And my partner bought the meat But she said, Jace, please go easy on the meat because I need some of the sandwich meat. It was roast beef. I need it for lunch tomorrow. So I didn't want to be an asshole and take all of the meat and put it on my pizza. So I had very limited amount of meat. I would guess probably 200 grams of meat total on my pizza, and it was probably 40 grams of protein total. For dinner, for me, that is just not enough. I woke up, because I don't really have pizza as a predominant thing. I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning in hunger pains. And I'm like, why the hell am I hunger pains? Like, what's going on? It was because despite the fact that I ate the entire pizza, homemade pizza, not commercial pizza, so I'd already dialed down the calories, which is good, it had a minimal amount of meat on it because I was trying to be a nice guy. The problem was I woke starving. And what did I go down and do? First thing I go down and do is walk down and start pecking in the morning, 5 o'clock when I wake up. Normally I wouldn't be hungry. So let me give you examples of how you can put protein into your meal, okay? You could have, for example, overnight oats. I think overnight oats are the best breakfast in the world. They're high in fiber, super tasty, easy to make, takes no time. But if we go then and add in a scoop of protein, all of a sudden, not only are we getting the protein for the muscular benefits, we're also getting the satiation benefit. And this is important. If you're starting your morning with getting in protein, perfect. I was telling you guys the other day, I don't actually really drink protein shakes at all. I have all of my protein in my oats. So that's one example. I'll give you another example. Who here, hands up, if you're a fan of raisin toast? I love raisin toast. 2 pieces of raisin toast, 220 calories. But what could I do to that raisin toast to make it even better and more filling as a snack? It's going to add calories, but what I want to do is make sure that it's filling. Either I have 1 piece of raisin toast, or I do what I do and smash the raisin toast with a huge amount of cottage cheese. You get the warm of the toast, the sultana's sweetness, and then the coldness of the cottage cheese coming from your fridge. Sprinkle it with some cinnamon, which contains no calories. That is the perfect meal. So guys, number 1, you have to get protein in with all meals, including snacks. So as an example, don't just have crackers, have tuna and crackers. Don't just have crackers with tomato, add some tuna in there. Does this make sense? Right? Don't just have a salad, put some chicken in there. I'm making you guys hungry? Good. This is the intention. So you need to get your protein in every meal. And I promise you, check it out for the next week. Watch the difference it makes to your feeling of hunger. And over the course of a day, will decrease your overall calories. And that's one way to do it without tracking. Number 2, I want you to think about, rather than immediately, I'm going to take away food to lose weight. This is the problem with most people. We take away food. I don't know about you guys, but do you feel like whatever we lose, we're programmed to go and find it? If I lost my phone, I have a meltdown, right? And I'm like, where's my phone? Where's my phone? Where's my phone? I'm programming to try to find it. Do you think that subconsciously maybe that's what's happening in your body, in your brain, when you're taking away food in way of a diet? Now, we know that the only way to lose fat is to get into a calorie deficit. So should we take away food or should we take away calories? There is a huge difference. Anyone that has started inside a BBA knows that the meal plan seems like a lot of food. I'm full. So you go from being outside of BBA, being hungry all the time and putting on weight, to coming inside a BBA, losing weight, being full all the time and saying, this is too much food. How does that work? There's a simple trick. We're substituting high volume foods for high calorie foods. There's a simple way to do it. When you eat highly palatable, or what are called hyperpalatable foods that are loaded with sugar and fat, you are loading them with calories. The problem is these foods are not filling. In fact, foods that are typically higher in sugar, what happens is when you absorb them, when they go into your mouth and into your bloodstream, they spike your insulin levels, which actually makes you more hungry. Another reason why having carbohydrate alone as a snack is not as good as having it with protein. Does this make sense? We don't want to go into too much detail around that. What I want you to do is think about, how can I add more volume? So I want you to look at your plate this week. And if you look at your plate and you feel sorry for yourself, you're doing it wrong. Let me say that again. If you look at your plate, if you're looking down at your dinner or your lunch and you're feeling sorry for yourself, poor me, I'm on a diet, you're doing it wrong. I look down and I go, fuck, I'm eating like a king. It's the best. Because I'm using high volume foods. When we think about it, when we take a grape and turn it into a sultana, what we're basically doing is dragging out all the water. So it's the same thing, just with no water. Now, are you going to eat a handful of sultanas or a handful of grapes? Which one's going to contain more calories? Of course, the handful of sultanas has got so many more calories. So we want to look down at our dinner, and Michelle says, I look at my dinner every night and go, wow, such an amazing plate of food. Yes, Michelle, that's exactly right. And we want one extra tweak to it. We want to say amazing food and a lot of food. Because if it's a lot of food, we're not going to be hungry. We're having protein, plus it's high volume foods. These are unprocessed foods. So if you look down and you've got a big wad of, let's say, broccoli. I absolutely love broccoli. Big wad of broccoli. You've got maybe a nice big fat sweet potato as an example. You've got a good, nice big lean piece of fish or steak or something like that. You're not sitting there with this like weaselly fucking meal of what you're like, oh, I'm shrinking away. Change the mindset to, I'm going to eat a lot of food, not a little bit of food, and that's going to be sustainable. Number 3. Guys, I want you to let me know, for those of you that are watching live across all the platforms, I want you to let me know, what is your one trigger food? What is your one trigger food? Because I want to suggest that one of the ways that you can eat less calories is more of a Jedi mind trick, and that is to put a barrier between you and your typical trigger foods. So, what's my trigger food? Okay, my trigger food would be in Whole Foods in Canada. I don't think they're in Australia. Whole Foods in Canada and America. They do these like vegan mousse desserts that are like 600 calories, but they're fucking unbelievable. They're so good. And Claudia is a really beautiful wife that comes home and says, Jace, I bought you a trigger. And I'm all over them. The moment that it's in the fridge, I'm going to eat that shit. So number 3 as a strategy without tracking is to put a barrier between you and your trigger food. So come on, guys. There's 20 people more watching this live. So far, we've got bread. So Kenny says bread. Okay. Mike Bergman says chips and crisps. Okay, great. So what I'm looking for is that you think about a way that you can make an extra step between when you have the thing or the craving for the thing and you eat the thing. I want to tell you that the major problem for most people is it's not the actual that they need the thing desperately. It's that in the moment, we're lacking awareness. We're watching the TV and Maddie says cheese. We're watching the TV, and what goes with sitting down watching the TV? Chips. We're relaxed. That's our zone, right? And so we just kind of crunch down and smash everything in. So what if we just had a barrier between us and the thing? So for me, I love beer. Okay? I love beer. I don't keep beer in the house, and I only drink low-calorie beer, but I don't keep beer in the house if it's midweek. I make sure that there's only beer in the house on weekends. Likewise, I don't keep a backlog of vegan desserts, the chocolate desserts, mousses. I don't keep a backlog of them in the fridge because I know that if they're there, I'll eat them. So what things are you making more difficult for yourself because they're on hand? Now, for those of you that I know that are enabled by their partner, give me a show of hands if you feel like you're enabled by your partner. So, for example, you might say, you know what? I don't buy the crisps, but my partner buys the crisps. Okay? And because by default I'm there, then I get caught in that loop. Okay, well, maybe you don't want to have a fight with your partner. So what do? Put a barrier between it. The idea of the barrier is to pique your awareness. So, as an example, I heard of a client the other day. I spoke to them. They said every single time that I get a craving for, it was actually crisps. Every time I get a craving for crisps, I make a promise to myself that I am going to go and walk to the end of the street and back before I have the crisps. Now, I'm certainly not a fan of you needing to earn your nutrition. But is this an idea of, do we really need the crisps? Or is it that we just get that impulse and we're in a moment where we're emotional, stressed, tired, and actually what's happening is this impulse. But if we let the time break the impulse, then actually it goes away. I want to propose that what will likely happen is if every time, Claire, you get the feeling for the chips and you say to yourself, okay, cool, I'm just going to take a walk to the end of the street and back. I reckon what's going to happen is that you're going to go to the end of the street and come back in the house. And because your awareness or your consciousness is back again, 9 times out of 10, you'll probably just go, I don't really feel like the crisps anymore. Or I got another example. Let's say that you've got you just want a massive Sunday like fry up, right? Great. Every Sunday, do a training session before the fry up. What's going to happen is you're going to go to the gym, you're going to feel great about yourself, you're going to have a sweaty, great workout, and then you're going to get back home and you're going to go, like, I'm actually kind of off it. And the reason I'm saying this is because I know that cravings they happen spontaneously, don't they? So if we can just break the pattern that's happening in our minds, we get the craving and then we do the thing, let's just install a slight barrier. Just pretend that on your fridge, and I'm not suggesting you do this, but let's pretend that on your fridge you had a padlock and you had to go out the front to the letterbox every time that you want to get the fridge. That's a barrier. So just, if you're that sort of person that says, I just can't stop eating this thing and it's not something that you want to eat, well then see what type of a barrier that you can possibly put in between yourself. Okay, number 4. Now remember guys, we're going through 5 ways to lean up without tracking. Number 4 is I want you to try this week. I want you to start talking rather than watching at dinner. Now, what do I mean by this? It is true that it takes approximately 15 to 20 minutes for the brain and the gut to connect and talk, send the messages around filling up. Okay, so what's happening is we've got some sensors in our stomach that detect how distended the stomach is and therefore how full it is. And what tends to happen is when we are watching instead of talking, we lose our awareness. And be it TV, internet, Netflix, doesn't matter what it is. We lose our awareness. And the moment we lose our awareness, we eat quicker. And the signal that the gut is sending back to the brain that says, hey, dude, I'm full, is being missed. So the strategy that I want to suggest that you try this week, not only for fat loss, but I think it'd be actually great for your family, is switch off and talk. Just like go back to talking. Maybe instead of TV, maybe put on some music and just talk. And what's going to happen is this incessant, habitual, hand to mouth. What's actually going to happen is you're really going to start to enjoy your food more. And Claire says, penny drop moment. Yep. you're going to start to enjoy your food more. Even if you live alone or your partner or kids or whatever it is out, that's fine. Has anyone, sidebar, has anyone taken a poo recently without their phone? It used to be embarrassing to say or admit that you used your phone on the toilet. Now I think every single person watching this live would say, yes, I pretty much do that, right? It's not embarrassing anymore because everyone does it. It's normalized. Go back this week to enjoying a poo without your phone. And what you'll actually notice is it's a really enjoyable experience, actually. By the way, dietitians freely talk about poo without embarrassment. You will enjoy it again. But because we're on our phones, the 10-minute passes, we're just scrolling and then it's over and we don't enjoy it. I'm going to argue that the exact same is happening with your morning poo. Trent Barnett, you're lying, mate, because you took a photo from the other one the other day. So, guys, put it down. Just try this moment to put it down, this week to put it down and just talk instead. Now, what's going to happen when you start talking? Well, if you're like me, you probably talk a lot. But let's just pretend that your dinner is two people that talk equal parts. That means that of the 20 minutes that you might sit down together, 10 minutes, and this should be the penny drop, Claire, 10 minutes is going to be you talking. That means it's 10 minutes that you're not eating, which means the whole thing's slowing down, which is going to give your digestion time to tell your brain that it's full. No tracking in sight. Okay, guys, last one. I'm going to go through these with you. Eat protein first and with all meals. Number 2, add high volume foods in rather than thinking less food. Create a barrier to your trigger foods. Number 1 is talk instead of watch over dinner. Now, the fifth one, is something that you guys might sort of say, yeah, well, I know that, but I don't actually think anyone does it. And that is to aim for 3 liters of water per day. Okay? So you might ask why I say specifically 3 liters of water. Well, this is 2.2 liters of water. Okay? So I fill this up in the morning, and then, as you can see, I'm literally, talk about hypocrisy. That's what I've done so far. I've had 3 coffees. It's 2 o'clock in the afternoon in Canada. I've had 3 coffees, and I'm at about 1 liter. So the problem with this is what? Number 1, when you are not keeping volume in your stomach, you're hungry. But that flows on to something else. If we are forcing ourselves to drink 3 liters of water a day, what are we not doing? Someone please hit me in the comments. If we are drinking 3 liters of water a day, what are we not doing? And what are we actually doing more of? Come on, guys, quick fingers. Who's got it? I really want to see if someone can pick it. Okay, we're not eating. Yep, great. Yep, we're not eating. I already told you that one. What else are we not doing? The water is displacing the other fluids which likely contain calories. So simple. So let's pretend that you normally fill up on coffees. Okay, so I drink probably 4 or 5 coffees a day. I make them all on 1% milk, but that's say 100 calories worth of milk over the course of a day. But if I'm instead filling myself up with 3 liters of water, and as you can see, I've had a terrible day so far. I will get it through, but I've had a terrible day so far. What I'm doing instead is drinking coffee. So you're going to drink fluid. So is it going to be fluid that contains calories or fluid that doesn't contain calories? There's no calories in water. So if you just drink water, you're not drinking calorie-containing fluids. Now, Amy said it in the comments in a very Australian way, pissing. Guys, for those of you that are in Better Body Academy Elite, as I said, we're going to be running a workshop called the Calorie Calibration next weekend. And in that, I'm going to talk to you about how powerful not exercise activity is. In other words, activity that is not structured exercise, and how that compounds over the course of a year. Getting up to go for a piss every hour actually really adds up. And I don't want to go into the details of this now, but there are 5 simple ways that you can implement in your behavior that many of you, at least 3 or 4 of them, you will have probably never heard of before, that you can implement without ever needing to track a calorie. Now I'm going to go back and I'm going to say to all of you that are 6 months or less into your journey, if you are not tracking your calories, you are guessing. We track calories so that we don't have to track calories anymore. So these 5 things apply, whether or not you're tracking calories, whether you're in the end stages and you're intuitively eating, or you're back there tracking calories, or you're on the meal plan, doesn't matter what phase you're up to. This is going to help. But I am going to come back to the point of saying, you know what, guys? If you don't know what you're putting in your mouth, and a great example that I always remember is John Timmons, who is now 35 kilos down and has run 2 marathons since he was a 135 kilogram man that couldn't run to the shop. He started tracking and he had a penny drop moment. He was eating like 80% carbohydrates. He was doubling what he should be having in terms of his calorie intake. And these 2 things combined, overeating calories and having predominantly a carbohydrate-based diet at the expense of protein and fat, means that you're going to be putting on weight and you're going to be always hungry. And that's a shitty way to live, especially if your goal is to lose fat. So guys, hopefully this episode has been practical and helpful. This has been the Better Body Academy podcast. I'm super pumped to have your company here this morning. Over 25 people throughout this podcast. Super appreciate your time. Guys, let's get stuck into a big week. To those of you that are in Australia, particularly, my friends back at home, we got around 67 days till summer kicks in. What you do now is going to put you in a position to feel good when that sun starts shining. Let's get stuck in. I'll see you in the next episode.